Alright, I'm going to show you what you need to do to get set up on Azure OpenAI. So first thing you want to do is you want to get your Azure subscription set up. You can do that using free credits. If you haven't set up an Azure instance in the past, it's very straightforward. If you have already set one up, then you can just leverage that. You want to create a resource group, just a container to hold all of the items that you're going to use for this. So I'm going to go in there. And then from there, you'll need Azure storage or some type of storage to hold the documents. Cognitive search, which does the search, which is critical for our retrieval augmented generation, the RAG approach. And then you also need your Azure OpenAI service. So I'm going to go ahead and open up in another tab here. I already have it open, the Azure OpenAI Studio. I've got two deployments here. I have an embedding deployment and I have a chat deployment. So I'm going to go ahead and open the chat deployment, hit open in the playground. It's really where you go to start to load the data and change the settings and chat on your own data. So we will click here, add your own data. This is in preview mode. And then we've got some parameters over here. I changed that max response already. You have the temperature, really what that is, and these all tell you here, but that controls how random the responses are. And by random, if it's 0, then you'll always get the highest probability responses. And if it's higher, like a 2, it will be very random and maybe incoherent. So somewhere in the middle is good. A 0.7 is typically pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and do add your own data. So this is where I'm going to select the data source. So there are a few options here. We could pull from an existing cognitive search, an index, blob storage if you've loaded your data into the Azure storage in blob format, or you can upload the files. I'm going to pick the upload the files. And then it's going to ask you, what is your Azure blob storage? That's my storage that I created earlier. Turn that on. Cognitive search, I'm going to select that. I'm going to just create a general index name. And then this is a great new addition, vector search. And then the embedding model, I'm going to pick that model that I selected earlier. And then next. Now it's going to ask me to drag and drop. So what I have here is I've got a couple of Microsoft financial reports, annual reports. So I'm going to drag those in there. I'm going to click upload. It's uploading those. And while it's uploading those, just to show you, this is where I pulled it from, Microsoft. It's all publicly available information. So right now it has uploaded these two files, and I'm going to hit next here. And then it's going to ask me the search type. So this is another interesting, relatively new setup. And I'm going to pick vector plus keyword. I'm going to acknowledge that vector search will incur charges. I'm going to hit next, and I'm going to hit save and close. So now what it's doing is it's ingesting those two documents. It's chunking up the data, putting it into an index, running it through the embedding model as it does that, creating the vectors. And it shouldn't take too long, and once it's done, then what we're going to be able to do is go up to this deployment, and then we'll be able to click create a new web app, and that'll create the actual application. It's completed. We can see the file was uploaded, the index has been created. We're about 5 minutes in, almost 6 minutes in. I'm going to create a new web app, and here I'm going to name the web app. So I'm going to call it demo. Select the subscription, select the resource group name, select a location, which is actually just going to align with where everything else is. Select a pricing plan. I won't enable, I'll acknowledge that. And then I will deploy it. App demo, put the date on it. Okay. It is now deploying the application. This should take just a couple minutes, but then after that, after it's been deployed and it's still working, you can see it up here in under the little bell here. after it's deployed, it will take 10 minutes for security to propagate through the Azure services before you can actually log in. But once that's done, then the site will be ready and you can go ahead and log in. But what I'm going to do, so once the website is ready, you can go ahead and launch it. This is the 10-minute authentication setup period that you need to, or waiting period that you need to be patient for. But once that 10 minutes is passes or so, and usually a little bit less, then you're all set. You can get in. Never need to do this again. You have your authentication. So we'll let that process through, and then we will test accessing the site. Microsoft financial statements. So I'm going to go ahead and ask it. I'm going to ask a question. Please tell me about the Microsoft culture. So what we get here are a few things. One, we're getting references to multiple documents. We're getting the feedback on growth mindset, diversity and inclusion, employee resource groups, well-being and safety. And then I can look at these references and it's telling me, I know I had two documents. One was the annual report. One was the 10K. So I can look in here and see, okay, this tells me what it pulled from the annual report, from the 10K, some similar information. Another section about our employees, and then the final section, here's some additional information. So now I'm going to ask the next question, does Microsoft own LinkedIn? And that was a very brief response, which is actually surprising, but it's to the point. Yes. Please provide additional information. Let's see what else it will say. Okay, LinkedIn is a professional networking platform. I can ask it, please act as a Microsoft employee and tell me all about the great things LinkedIn does and why it is an important investment for Microsoft, which is all kind of tied into the financial statements. All right, here we go. This is getting me more of the information I was looking for, things that I saw in the document. So it's telling me here's some of the great things that LinkedIn does: professional networking, job search, talent, marketing, learning and skill development, professional content, sales solutions, and how Microsoft's investment. Now, an important thing to note here is that this solution is only pulling from the documents that was provided.